Έλα παιδιά, τι λέει, καλησπέρα, what's up, and welcome to the 7th episode of Feta Talks. So today on this episode we're going to be discussing one of my favorite topics to let's say dive into, discuss, and I love discussing this with Greeks and non-Greeks alike. It is something that for sure everyone, in the diaspora community can relate to. Something that everyone has their own opinions and reasoning on. Και γι' αυτό το λόγο πιστεύω πως είναι, it's not controversial per se, but like, it is for sure something that people have very passionate opinions on. Some people are confused about it. Some people, go back and forth. Ξέρω εγώ, και I just love discussing this and getting different people's opinions and perspectives. So, without further ado, today's topic is going to be something I call the cultural identity crisis. And what this basically is it's directed towards Greeks of the diaspora. For those of you who don't know, the diaspora is basically the community of Greeks, including the immigrant generation, the first generation, second, third, fourth, and so on, outside of their native country. So, like I said, for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna use Greece and Greeks for this example, and but it can be applied to everyone all over the world. So, what do I exactly mean by cultural identity crisis? Right? So, what I mean by this is when you have Greeks who have immigrated to Canada, to America, to Germany, Australia, σε όλο τον κόσμο είμαστε εμείς οι Έλληνες, right? So, what happens is they end up having kids, generation by generation goes by, and there's a sense of identity that, is in the air. Am I now, and just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to use Canadian, okay, just because that's where I'm from. Or am I Greek? Am I Canadian? Am I Greek Canadian? Am I Canadian with Greek roots? How do I identify myself? This has been always something that's interested me from a young boy. Και πιστεύω ότι I have formed my own opinions based on my own personal feelings, based on my experiences, based on conversations, but also based on studies, research, and actually taking a couple courses on this in university. So I'll give you basically τώρα my εξήγηση on how I think. I do want to make it clear that I do believe this is a subject that there is no right or wrong answer. Πιστεύω ότι everyone has the right to their own opinions, to identify that the way that they want, with which culture they more so belong to or identify with. Και, not everyone has to be on the same page about this, but I would really love to hear what you guys think. So, in terms of identity, especially for the kids and generations born outside of their native homelands, it's very, not controversial, but it's up in the air, Am I, for example, I'm Greek, born in Canada. My grandparents, οι παππούδες και οι γιαγιάδες μου ήρθαν εδώ στο Καναδά, and I am considered, according to the WIC professors and professionals in this subject area, refer to me as third generation. Third, because first there's the immigrant generation, οι παππούδες και οι γιαγιάδες. Then there is the second generation removed from the homeland, από την πατρίδα, the one, my parents born in Canada. And then I'm the third generation removed from the homeland. I know that in North American standards, at least, a lot of times the children of grandparents are considered second generation. But according to the proper way, και όπως το βλέπω εγώ, we're really third generation because we are, like we said, the third generation removed from the motherland, από την πατρίδα, από την Ελλάδα, right? So basically what happens, right? Okay. I have always had, deep down, this feeling ότι εγώ είμαι Έλληνας. Έτσι με μεγάλωσε ο παππούς, έτσι με μεγάλωσε η οικογένειά μου, αλλά that is also how I have chosen to identify myself as. It is not just, this was forced down, you have to be this, you have to be that. Because I've also had the opposite happen, hey, you're born in Canada, hey, μη το παίξεις, Έλληνας. And, that's always bothered me, because it's like, δεν το παίζω Έλληνας, είμαι Έλληνας. Well, just because I was born here. But what it did is, it triggered me to think a little deeper into things. About identity, culture, and the impacts it has on our behaviors, on our mindsets, on our interactions, on honestly our daily lives. Okay, so this is basically what I've come up with. I mean, I've always believed that there are three determining factors to someone's identity, and these for me have always been the three most important factors. Now, in order to identify with one culture more than the other, I always said you need to fulfill two. So, number one is where you're born. This plays for sure a direct impact. Where you're born, grew up, it plays for sure a direct impact into where you're gonna probably identify with. Number two, your blood, your genetics, and μες στο αίμα σου τι είσαι, από πού είσαι. And number three, and this is where, personal experience, personal choice comes into play, η νοοτροπία του ανθρώπου. So, the person's mindset, where they personally choose to identify with, identify as, and, which culture they believe that they belong in and influences them in their daily perspectives. Right? So I've in the past asked polls on Instagram or had discussions with people. Okay, so as a third generation, are we Greeks born in Canada or are we Canadians with Greek roots? Personally, δεν πιστεύω ότι you guys are going to be surprised with this, but I consider myself 100% Έλληνας, 100% Greek. Now, I'm a Greek born and raised though in Canada. This is just, luck of the draw, έτσι γίναν τα πράγματα, and I was born here. In my opinion, does that make me any less Greek? No. But, could it? Of course it can, because it all depends on what aspects of my Greek culture, of the Greek, motherland I've brought here, my family has brought here, that I have chosen to accept and continue, and what I've taken from the place where I've grown up, Toronto, Canada, and proceed with. There are people who are immigrants, for example, family in the States, who they are immigrants from Greece to America, and they feel more American than they are Greek because in their blood, yes, they're Greek, but, they grew up for a majority of their life and in the States, and they believe in their minds that they identify more with that culture. So, for sure, where you're born plays a part, where you've grown up for the span of your life plays a part, but also where you believe your personal mindset affiliates with, Some of the really interesting things I've spoken with people in the past, whether in school or with friends, family, and such, have given me different points and different perspectives on how to look at this. One friend of mine, who is an immigrant, he's around 28 years old, from Greece to Canada, actually recently moved back, but has done many years here in Canada, goes to me, at the end of the day, being Greek is a mindset, he goes. It doesn't matter where you're born, it doesn't matter where you grew up, but it's about how, η νοοτροπία του ανθρώπου, how you think about things, πώς σκέφτεσαι, how you treat life, what your version and vision of life is, and, how you continue on living. And he goes, education system plays a big part in this, family upbringing, and third, personal preference. He goes, Βασίλη μου, εσύ είσαι 100% Έλληνας, okay? Yes, έχεις μεγαλώσει στο Καναδά. You've grown up in Canada. You have gone to the Canadian education system. But, he goes, your papoose influence, along with the rest of your family, your yayas, your parents, and everyone involved, have for sure influenced you in a way, and you, as a person, have accepted it, να προχωρήσεις σαν Έλληνα. And I think, that's pretty accurate in terms of my personal experience and identity. When I travel, when I go places, εγώ απαντάω στον κόσμο ότι I'm Greek, born and raised in Toronto, Canada. A lot of people are like, no. What's your birth certificate say? What's your passport say? That's what you are. No. I spoke with another friend of mine who was born and raised in Canada, but actually just recently, just 2 weeks ago, made the move to Greece. And she told me a piece of advice that one of her Greek teachers had told her. And I believe that this metaphor for, the diaspora is so accurate. They go, say you have a farm, okay? And you have a farm filled with tomatoes. If you take the seeds from this tomato garden, okay? And you go and you travel, across anywhere, the town, the city, the country, whatever. And you plant it, okay, in a garden that grows cherries, cherry trees, okay? Will this, will these seeds now come out as cherry trees, or will they continue to grow tomato plants? And the answer is, even though everyone around them, or everything around them in the new garden is a cherry tree, they will grow as tomatoes. We, as, children and generations of the diaspora, represent these tomato seeds that have been taken away from the original garden, but we still have the opportunity to grow as our natural plant or as our natural people, as our natural cultures. And I've always thought that stuck with me and is very strong επειδή πιστεύω ότι, σαν Έλληνες, οι παππούδες και οι γιαγιάδες έχουν έρθει μετανάστες στο Καναδά. They've come as immigrants. But they instilled and nurtured us with these morals. Our religion, which for sure plays a direct impact into our daily lives, our cultures, our how we view and our perspective of morality and culture and things, what's right and what is wrong. So now I've spoken with people who, just like me, third generation, also second generation, also the immigrant generation, who believe, we came to this country to assimilate, to adapt to a new lifestyle, for a better lifestyle, in their personal opinions. And they go, if they're born in these countries, they go, I am Canadian, I am American, I am Australian, Exωτερικό, with roots from Greece, but I am not, And it's interesting because you can see people in a very similar circumstance, generationally speaking, but see things differently. Their perspectives, on life, on how to live, are more influenced from their birth country or where they are currently established. Κοίτα, εγώ πιστεύω ότι personally, σαν Βασίλης Μπουρίκας, σαν DJ Golden Feta, I consider myself Greek, born and raised in Toronto. I love Greece for its history, for its culture, for the religion that is widespread majority throughout the country, for, the παράδοση, for everything from the serious topics of religion and culture and morals to the things as music, drama, theater, arts, all this stuff that's come from the Greek culture. Now, I haven't lived in Greece, να σου πω ότι, life is better there, life is worse there. I have my own opinions. Και πιστεύω ότι είναι καλύτερα, but I'm not going to get into that. And I can't say with, creditation where it's better, because I've only lived here. Έχω πάει 5 φορές στην Ελλάδα, I've been 5 times to Greece, and that's been my experience, right? And I try not to see it as the vacationer, the ξένο, but truth be told, I haven't lived there, να σου πω την αλήθεια, the comparisons, να συγκρίνουμε τώρα την Ελλάδα μαζί με το Καναδά, or vice versa. But what I can tell you is, though, Canada is a country that, is my papers, I respect for the opportunities, for the safety, for, the opportunities it gave to my grandparents, to us being born here, to my parents being born here, and everything. But, προσωπικά, personally, η καρδιά μου, το μυαλό μου, they belong to Greece, wherever in the world they may be. So, like I said earlier, where was I born? Toronto, Canada. Okay, so that's on this side. What is my blood? 100% Έλληνας, Greek. Okay, on both sides of my family, all four grandparents, and so on. But no, my personal choice of my mindset, my notropia, where I believe I fit in more so with, I identify as a Greek. I believe that my aspects on things, my morals, my perspective on life as a whole, να σου πω την αλήθεια, is more in line with the Greek vision of what is life. Not to say which way is right or wrong, but, I don't think it's a coincidence, and it's not something that I have tried to do on purpose ever, but δεν πιστεύω πως είναι τυχαίο ότι οι περισσότεροι φίλοι μου είναι παιδιά, ή από την Ελλάδα, ή from other countries around the world, but who have came as immigrants. what I just said in Greek was, I don't think it's random or chance that the majority of my friends, the overwhelming majority of my friends, are people who have come from Greece or from other countries around the world. For example, from Iran, from Albania, from Serbia, from Bulgaria, from these different countries. And I don't think it's random that, my mindset naturally gravitated towards each other. Because I think I share a lot of the cultural perspectives that they share piso στη patria, in the homeland. And I believe that, there's the whole thing to discuss between the Eastern and the Western perspectives of life and where you grew up and what's valued. But then again, like I said, I respect both countries, the one where my family has come from, where my papudes and yeyades came as immigrants from, where, my cultural identity stems from. But I also respect the country where I was born, grew up in, and lived my entire life, other than vacations. At the end of the day, I think that it's so cool because everyone's different and everyone has different opinions on things. And, this is one topic that I believe, like I said, everyone has a different opinion on, but doesn't necessarily have to be controversial. I think it's very prevalent in the diaspora communities, in Greek Canadians, Greek Americans, Greek Australians, Greek Germans, Greeks in the UK, on what you are. And I know that people, when they go to Greece, especially the ones not born in Greece, have had multiple different experiences. Πολλοί έχουν πάθει, the typical ο Αμερικανάκης, ο Καναδεζάκης, they've come from outside. Honestly, maybe it's chance, maybe it's not. I have been blessed not to have ever experienced any of that. I've actually been told the opposite. Εσύ στο Καναδά, Βασίλη μου, εσύ και οι φίλοι σου, είστε πιο Έλληνες από τους Έλληνες στην Ελλάδα. And I think that isn't because, when Greece plays, we got a big flag and wear the jerseys and everything, because I have these gloves here, even though I love them. It's because we take the time to appreciate and maintain and preserve the culture even in this foreign land. Εγώ μπορώ να μιλήσω στα ελληνικά. Not saying that my Greek is perfect. I wasn't born there, but it was my first language, and it's a language that I've made tireless efforts to maintain. Να κρατήσω τη μητρική μας γλώσσα, να μπορέσω να μιλήσω ελληνικά. So when I go to Greece, I don't sound like, Americanaki. So I sound like a doppio, like a local. And, I'm proud of that for myself. I believe that it's something that everyone has the personal choice what to do. It also has to do with the immigrant generation, what they passed down, what the parents passed down. So, it's not anyone to blame or anyone's specific duty to keep the language or keep, the perspectives of the homeland. It's everyone's choice. And then at the end of the day, when you grow up, everyone's personal effort. I classify myself, like I said, as a Greek born and raised in the diaspora in Canada. But εγώ είμαι Έλληνας. I'm Greek, I've been blessed enough to be treated like that στη πατρίδα μας, in the homeland. People have treated me nothing whatsoever like a foreigner. But then here in Canada, I also get, the luxuries of being a native here. And I think that's really cool, and it gives a very different perspective, because our families have left. We are in these melting pots of different cultures and different languages and religions, so we get to see. Now, to talk about the pros and cons of these mixed societies versus, the more homogeneous countries, that's a different conversation. But, I go to a Greek Orthodox church when celebrating holidays. I celebrate Greek Independence Day even here in Toronto. I make that conscious effort to speak Greek, to maintain the language. There's so many things we can do, and everyone has the right to identify whichever way they want. I am super curious to hear how you guys identify, especially οι Έλληνες της Diasporas, the Greeks in Canada, in America, in Australia, all over the world. I really want to hear how you guys choose to identify yourselves as. Are you proud, Greek Americans? Are you Americans with proud Greek roots? Are you Canadians with, Greek ancestors? Are you puro Ella? Are you, pure Greek? And just happen to be raised and born in this foreign land. Um, Please give me what your credentials are in terms of how you choose to identify, what you believe is the right way. Like I said, I don't believe there's a right or wrong way to identify. I believe that everyone has their own choice. It's up to them. But I think that this is a topic really worth discussing. I mean, they teach courses about um, generational diaspora and diaspora communities in university. It's some courses that I took, and probably my favorite courses in university, because it makes you dive so much into your personal perspectives, your understanding of how you've grown up, and then taking, your identity by the reins. Πώς ταυτίζεσαι, παιδί μου? Είσαι Έλληνας, είσαι Καναδός, είσαι ξένος, πού νιώθεις ότι ταυτίζεσαι καλύτερο? Εγώ ταυτίζομαι με την Ελλάδα. Εγώ αγαπώ την Ελλάδα, ευχαριστώ το Καναδά, το σέβομαι. But everyone's different, like I said. So, anyways, εγώ τώρα θα πιω το καφεδάκι μου, as always. And I wanna hear what you guys think, okay? Άντε, θα τα πούμε, Έλληνες του Καναδά, της Αμερικής, της Αυστραλίας και εννοείται οι Έλληνες της Ελλάδος. Άντε, θα τα πούμε, παιδιά. Golden Feta, άντε, bye.